First tonight, health officials remain tight-lipped over which strain of meningococcal disease was contracted by 2 Tasmanians. Protesters rally in Devonport 3 years on from when dozens of seafarers lost their jobs. Frightening new details about Missouri's boat disaster which claimed 17 lives. The bombshell secret recordings linking Donald Trump to a Playboy model. And Collingwood thrashes the Kangaroos at the G.
Live from our Tasmanian headquarters, this is Southern Cross News with Rachel Williams.
Good evening, everyone. Health officials are tonight still refusing to say which strain of meningococcal disease was contracted by 2 Tasmanians this month. An outbreak in Hobart has already tragically claimed 1 life, and experts say more critical information needs to be released.
When a patient walks into Dr. Seidel's surgery with a suspected case of meningococcal, everything stops.
There is time for heart attacks, there is time for strokes, there even is time for gunshot wounds. But, as a clinician, when we see a patient with meningococcal disease and we suspect a deterioration, we drop absolutely everything.
3 Tasmanians have contracted the disease this month, 1 fatally. None of the cases linked.
It's the critical emergency. Nothing comes close to meningococcal disease when it comes to urgency of treatment.
Public Health has confirmed it now knows which strain was contracted in the first 2 cases, but is not telling the public. Officials said this was out of respect for the families. 2 different vaccines are available to treat the disease, one for strains A, C, W and Y, and another for the B strain.
Will be guided by those within the public health system and the experts around meningococcal. Can I say that our heart goes out to all families, our condolences, particularly with the families that have been affected.
It is important that families know which strain is in the community at the moment, whether that's limited to 1 or whether it is more than 1, so that they can make an informed choice.
Anyone who becomes rapidly unwell with fever, confusion or a rash is now urged to seek emergency treatment.
Just this morning, in the first couple of hours, we had 8 patients coming in to have the vaccinations.
Michelle Wisby, Southern Cross News.
It's been 3 years since the Australian crew of the Alexander Spirit was sacked, throwing Devonport into the centre of international industrial action. The oil tanker sat off the northwest coast for 3 weeks as the crew protested their jobs being replaced by overseas workers.
A rally across Devonport 3 years since 36 jobs were cut.
When workers' rights are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back!
Joanne Kerrett was the chief caterer on board the Alexander Spirit in 2015 and remembers the day well. She was told that her job was no longer.
Yeah, no, I love my job. I love being at sea. I think I was good at my job and I just think it's unfortunate.
Telling protesters the ship's crew were given very little notice their jobs were being cut. They launched industrial action, staging a sit-in off the Devonport coast for 3 weeks.
We all had mortgages, kids, all the rest of it, and it is a shock to be told, to one day be secure and the next day to be totally insecure.
Since then, she says she's applied for hundreds of jobs, but is yet to find full-time work.
The lack of confidence in the industry is also something that, is severely dented when you're talking about high-end or high-value shipping, such as fuel. What message does that send to the rest of the shipping industry?
The ship was the last Australian crewed fuel tanker in operation, with crews now hired internationally, something these union representatives are hoping can change, with the future of locally trained seafarers at stake.
We're now in a situation where 1 in 10 workers in the workforce are on temporary work visas. That's outrageous. It's outrageous, especially in a situation of any area in this country where there's high unemployment, especially high youth unemployment.
Jessica Moran, Southern Cross News.
From back pain to knee injuries and sore shoulders, GPs in training have spent the day brushing up on how best to treat some of the most common patient complaints. The doctors gathering in Hobart to learn new skills. Patients get the best possible care.
It's a trampoline-like tension. It's almost like he's tied.
It's really important that we do know how to evaluate these problems thoroughly and properly so that we can avoid missing things that might be more serious and intervene early in those cases.
Workshop is a critical part of the training course to become a fully qualified GP. It turns out training our dogs to sniff for food makes them happier and more relaxed. This idea has been the focus of a world-class breeding program running this weekend, involving obstacles, puzzles and plenty of treats.
This clever pooch is on the scent, sniffing his way through K9 nose work. An international program animal training expert Peter Clark has been pioneering in Tasmania for over 6 years.
We're providing pet dogs with an opportunity to hunt out specific odours that they've been taught to want to find and indicate to us. So it's really like detection work for pet dogs.
Training the dogs with scent puzzles, a therapeutic activity designed to help with stress and anxiety.
And there's nothing more intrinsic to a dog than sniffing out food, right? So yeah, I think that it really has that calming effect, and we generally start to see it when they start to come to regular classes.
I love Noseworks and what it does. My dog can be a little bit anxious, so I found through using Noseworks as an activity and an output for her, that's reduced some of her anxiety and made her more manageable in my household.
And I think what we see is that whole relaxation and focused concentration from nose work peter out and start to influence them for the better, which is just the most better than any ribbon we could ever win, right?
Creating happier pups with just their noses. Ruby Kamain, Southern Cross News.
To the rest of the day's sporting news now with Tom Johnson. Good evening, Tom. The playoffs are here for two Tassie Siebel teams.
Yes, they sure are, Rach, after two huge games last night. I'll have more after the break, along with the Suns' shock upset over Sydney. And Peter Sagan takes his third win of the tour. Meanwhile, Launceston has ended Lauderdale's stunning run of form in the TSL. 3 majors each to Mitch Thorpe and Jake Hines helped the Blues to win by more than 10 goals. Wayward kicking by Clarence nearly caused a boil-over against North Hobart, and North Launceston was too good for Glenorchy. Glenorchy had the early play against the ladder leader at KG5. 2 opening half goals to Jay Bowden were welcome for the home side, while Harry Parker also booted 2 for the day. But the Northern Bombers showed why they're the best team thanks to Brad Cox-Goodger. A 6-goal outing to the big man was the key for North Launceston, who went on to win by 37 points. It wasn't all good news though, with Jay Foon driven head first into the ground. After a brief scuffle between the sides, Foon was stretchered away for medical help. In one of the most appalling displays of inaccuracy this season, Clarence very nearly kicked itself out of the game. With 2 goals 13 at half-time, the Roos trailed North Hobart despite having had 8 more scoring shots. The Demons, on the other hand, were inspired. Jacob Steele took a hanger. And the D's kept ruling the air. Will Pepin joined the highlights reel and finished the job with a classy goal from a tight angle. It was enough to overheat tensions as the plucky young Demon side took it up to the big boys. But a Ryan Bailey showstopper lifted the Roos, who ran away in the second half to win by 33 points. And Lauderdale started well at Windsor Park, but goals to Mitch Thorpe turned the tables. The Blues had all the play towards the business end of the game, eventually enjoying a big win to lift to 4th on the ladder. A thumping win by the Hobart Chargers has ended the Northwest Thunder's season. Hobart had control of last night's contest from start to finish, ending up with a mammoth 41-point buffer. While the Launceston Tornadoes have secured a double chance for the playoffs after beating the Chargers by 14. A vocal sellout crowd of around 3,000 people packed out the deck last night, and what a show they saw. If an all-Tasmanian rivalry wasn't enough, the Tornadoes had a double chance on the line, while the Chargers could have secured a place in the final 8 with a win. It made for a tinder-dry tie, with Britt Smart lighting the fuse for the home crowd. Count, 1, 2, 3! Smart almost single-handedly kept the Chargers in it, with a pivotal 27-point night out. She would feature again in a big 3-pointer to get supporters pumping, and to hold the Tornadoes to a razor-thin 2-point margin at half-time. But another fine performance from Lauren Nicholson tightened the Torns' grip. Only a brief burst of play proved to be the difference in the end. 9 unanswered points to the Tawns midway through the third would end up being the final margin. The Chargers competed valiantly in the last, but there was to be no miracle comeback. A Tornadoes win, the side will travel to Bendigo in week 1 of the playoffs. The coast-to-coast clash between the Thunder and the Chargers also had crucial consequences. The Northwest season was in the balance. The Chargers could jump to second on the ladder. There were early storm clouds for the Thunder. Ben Richmond limped from the court early on, and the home side just looked like a tighter unit. Captain Craig Moller turned a missed basket into a 2-pointer straight down the line. And while Mason Bragg brought the intensity, his side simply couldn't sink the shots, and Hobart made them pay. Moller had 26, Mathiang Muo 31. While Terry Masunda ran around the Thunder like witches' hats. Bragg made an incredible basket from the defensive half after the buzzer, but it was a rare spectacle from his side. The Chargers recorded their biggest win of the season with the 41-point humbling of the Northwest. Hobart will finish second unless Nunawading beats Bendigo by more than 20 points tonight. And Rach, that's all in sport.
Wonderful, thank you for that, Tom. Britt will join us after the break with the weather forecast.
Good evening. A weakening southwesterly stream brought showers to the west, south and Bass Strait Islands today, but it was fine and partly cloudy elsewhere. The state's top temperature was 14, recorded in Launceston, Hobart, Burnie and Devonport, all 13. 13 was also the top for King Island, Smithton, Lowhead, St Helens and Friendly Beaches. It was 11 at Maria Island, Grove and Ouse, and Lyowini reached a high of just 3 degrees. Low to middle level clouds sat over the west and south of the state, with a high pressure system over the east of the mainland extending a ridge over Victoria and Tasmania, as we can see in that onshore flow. Tomorrow that ridge moves over the east of the state and a cold front lies over southern WA. West to northwesterly winds reaching up to 30 knots in the west, seas rising to 2.5 metres. There is a strong wind warning current for western waters between Southeast Cape and Stanley. A partly cloudy day for Hobart tomorrow, a top of 13. 13 also for Richmond and Ouse. Launceston, a possible afternoon shower, 13 the top. Showers for Devonport, 13. Deloraine, 10. Burnie, 13 with a shower or 2. 13 also the top for Strawn and Curry. A partly cloudy day for St Helens, 13. Swansea, 14. Whitemark, showers and 13. Looking ahead to next week now, Monday we can expect early rain in the west extending across the north and then tending to showers across the state. Much the same for Tuesday with the addition of snow down to around 900 metres. And a partly cloudy day on Wednesday apart from some showers in the west and far south. Looking further north tomorrow, showers for Perth, a partly cloudy day for Brisbane and Adelaide and some sun for Sydney and Melbourne. It's cloudy at the moment in Hobart, 8 degrees, Launceston 8 and partly cloudy, Devonport 8 and cloudy. I hope you have a great Saturday night, Rach.
Wonderful, thank you. You too, Britt. Well, that's all your news for now. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rachel Williams. Good night.